All right, we are live. Hello, guys, and welcome to the dojo. And today we are going to talk about amateur Overwatch competitive in a roundtable setting. If you are watching this and you have access to Discord, and if you want to join us, then feel free to join. We are going to be in the public channel, in the talk channel. You can join in, you can ask your questions, you can take part in the discussion. So I have invited some of the dojoers. And I'm just going to drag them into the channel. They have a lot of experience in amateur esports as well as collegiate esports, and that's how we are going to play this. So I am dragging them in now. Hello guys, introduce yourself please briefly.
Go, Dandy.
Oh, hello. I'm Dandy Andy. These guys like to call me Andy. I've played for 5 esports teams now, unofficial ones. Yeah.
Is that it? Is that it? You good?
I manage one of them. I used to captain it. I had to step down. But yeah, I have some pretty good team experience for Overwatch.
Nice. So Baggins.
All right, I'm the Mr. Baggins, and I was on a team with Dandy. It's the only team I've had previously before the one I'm on currently. I'm currently on my university's team as the intermediate coach and team captain. We are a mixed team at the University of Central Missouri, and yeah, that's basically my experience with teams as of right now.
All right.
Personally.
Regarding my experience as a player, I have been playing from the very beginning of the Open Overwatch, and I have been participating in teams as well, being in one of the top national team. Regarding my coaching experience, I have coached one of the top teams of Malaysia, as well as the team of the Montreal University called Falcons back 2 years ago, I think. So I have a little bit of experience on the player and coaching side as well. So I'm going to drag ourselves back to the public channel, and let's continue there.
Big flexing over here.
So
Top team, just gonna flex.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today, and this is going to be a round table. That means that you are free to pitch in if you think you have something to add to it. We are really here to discuss. If anyone is interested in competitive gaming for Overwatch, I feel like this is one of the best experiences you can get from the game. At least,
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've just played competitive just for fun and usually just for thrills and stuff. It's good.
yeah.
Some competitiveness rather than going to school and doing PE.
That's right. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to read up the agenda for today. So we had the introductions. We are going to talk about the state of the Overwatch amateur competitive scene and what does it take to play in a team. Identifying your goals before joining a team. So this is a more personal one. How to find a good team and what to look for. How to adjust it to yourself. How does a scrim or a week of a team look like? So what does a team do, and what kind of activities can you expect if you are participating in a competitive team? What kind of teams are there and stuff like that? And we are going to talk about other jobs, staff around teams that people can fill. So if you are not a player, you can still participate in competitive Overwatch by being a cameraman, for example, or anything like that. These are the topics that we want to touch today. Cool, so let's go ahead and go with, and I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat here.
I'll be looking at it too.
Cool, thank you. So
Which chat? I don't know.
Either the Discord and the YouTube as well. So we are streaming to YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This should be it. Okay, cool. So the state of competitive Overwatch right now. What do you guys think about how we are structured? What kind of things we can do? What kind of experience do you have?
Myself, I've been playing comp for almost 2 years now. I started season 7 and became a Lucio main at first. I hit silver. The highest I got was 1/800. I then decided to switch off heals. Went to Genji DPS because I really enjoyed his playstyle. I ended up playing him ever since. I play him up to now. In that time, in about season 12, I finally hit gold, and since then I've been gold in my main account. I decided to buy another account to push myself because I knew I was better, and I found myself getting into plat and almost diamond in tank once, but falling straight out, unfortunately, not to be having enough skill. But I have. It's okay. I'll get back up that easy. But I have been in a few teams here and there. I've created teams which didn't go well. They had to disband instantly. I've been in teams for GGEU, which I did one season. I think it was season 4 or season 5. I decided to join up as a random, and obviously random teams were initialized. Our team didn't do too well. Of course, at the beginning it was really good. We had a lot of synergy as a team. We loved playing together as a team. We knew that goats was meta at that point. We did play a lot of goats. We were pretty good at other things such as dive and whatnot. But unfortunately, due to players leaving the team, we had to forfeit on our third game, which wasn't the best. But apart from that, I guess now I'm just looking to join a team right now. I'm trying out for a few, and yeah, seeing where that goes in the future.
Nice. Lots of ups and downs. But I feel like you still enjoyed it.
I've been enjoying Overwatch ever since I played it. Ever since release, I've wanted it, actually. When beta came out, I was really jealous of my friend who got to play it during season 2. He was jealous of beta as well. So, yeah, for everyone who played beta, you lucky sons of...
Cool. So, what do you guys think about how easy it is for an average player to know about that there's an additional layer to the game? How easy it is to find teams and to because you can, of course, get to know the really top of competitive gaming, which is the league and contenders, because it's advertised in the game client itself. But for a casual gamer, what do you think? How easy it is to figure out that there's such a thing as an amateur competitive scene?
I think you really need to know somebody who's already in the competitive scene. So someone who's a lot more into comp than you are would probably already have a lot of this information from somebody they probably know who's probably in like contenders or open division or currently competes in some kind of like semi-pro scene.
I guess you could say it's like a chain, kind of like someone's playing for contenders. They know someone who knows someone, but they know you because of that person.
And they slowly kind of introduce you to that world, and you get kind of like ingratiated with it as you go.
Anyone else with different experience?
I know just from like if I'm just from my side point, I don't see it being promoted as like, hey, go make your own team, guys. It'll be fun. No, I don't see that being promoted anywhere within the client or anything. You just see the pro scene, which is the Overwatch League, and then every so often you'll hear about contenders. Like you'll hear that from like other Twitch streamers or within Overwatch League. But there's nothing promoting the amateur scene other than maybe Jane, who's promoting his own tournaments. Saying,
Lots of that is
create a team. So it's a lot of third-party creation. There's no hands-on for Blizzard to do that. So it's very dependent on the player base, which is fine. It just depends on which players are the ones doing it, because people can't always be IQ level to do that.
Yeah, there's a monetary life cycle in a game nowadays. Even with Overwatch 2, they're trying to extend the life of Overwatch for a few more years, maybe. But how many more years? And so to invest deeply into the entire ladder is not necessary from a financial standpoint for Blizzard, and so it's up to the community to sort of define the amateur and up thing. I really don't think that there's what we can predict about the corporate strategy, and that reveals a lot about, the moneymaker is Overwatch League, and they don't need a very, very, very strong, 15-year, 20-year pipeline of moving people up through the ranks into the league. They have enough people to make a lot of money on it right now, and they will for the life of the game, and then they'll can the game and go to something else.
But then you just
So
the odd now and again where big players or big streamers really play Overwatch League, like Chipso and XQC,
yeah,
which you think, I mean, Chipso and XQC are good. Yeah, they were amazing. XQC now obviously does other things, but Chipso, yeah, he's good, but like they're streamers as well, so you're gonna get that toxic side as well. Of course, we saw that with XQC.
yeah. So I don't think
That's-
it's a thing to be cynical over.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
it's
that what
definitely.
it means is it actually provides a really amazing opportunity for community-led um, competitive scene. Because there's a gap, there's sort of a power vacuum there, and there's nothing stopping. And I know a lot of this goes on already, and that's why I'm here to learn about. Actually, is
But
how much self-organization is happening. Anyways,
what you do
yeah.
see with players though, often, especially in the league, you see high turnover rates. So you do kind of want to keep some sort of funnel in to allow more players to come through as the other ones do start to retire, because they're like, I'm done with Overwatch. I don't want to play anymore, or at
Or
least
if
I
you
don't want to play
unretire like
professionally.
Fissure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fissure, then you just keep retiring and unretiring. It's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like the normal player-based stuff. That's why I'm kind of with Jane on maybe, at least for the States, creating a collegiate scene.
Yeah.
Because that would be very beneficial, and that would be great to get up off the ground here, at least in the States.
To
because
somewhat
they-
mimic a sports structure, like a football structure almost.
Essentially, you would just have esports similar to how the other sporting would be, because you have athletics in the university, but then underneath athletics, you have all the different sports that go in there: football, baseball, softball. You can do that with that. You have your esports area where you have like Call of Duty, you have CS:GO, you have Siege, Overwatch, Rocket League. So it's a definite structure that could happen. It's just a matter of all the old farts around here to get over the fact that esports is a sport, and it's it can be considered a sport, and that's one thing I've been battling here for a while. It's kind of funny because there's one guy I was arguing with for at least a year about esports, and he kept calling it not a sport, and then all of a sudden, once we got an esports club here, he started calling it a sport. So
it's just a matter of legitimizing it, I think,
Yeah,
to people
essentially.
who don't play video games.
So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of doing that. So that's kind of how I see it. Like, because as you said, like, you create a team, but then all of a sudden it just falls apart and you can't continue it. If you were in a collegiate scene, or if you had your high school or your college or your community college having that going, then you would have staff there who could continually recruit and continually have players available for you to get. And so that's just kind of the big thing there with that. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the NCAA takes over the esports stuff, because like this TESPA tournament has been great. But that's just me. I'm fine with like how Dandy and Baggins first started out with their like made team Nevermore. Was that the first name of it, Nevermore?
Yes.
Okay. Like the way it was structured was fine for the first few months, and so like it had good structure and whatnot. It's just a matter of that you just have players managing themselves, and so it's hard for people to listen to people they see as their peers
Yeah.
without having like a solidified coach that's actually there. And again, a university could provide a structure like that if they're not our university, who seems to have issues with doing the whole coding onto a coach thing.
But you also need a specific goal in mind for the team.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah,
the priorities of the team are what matter. So the team that Baggins and I were on seemed to err more on the side of casual, but we want to play well and competitive, and we want to learn how to work as a team.
That's true.
But that doesn't carry over so much into, I want to get so good I can play in the Overwatch League too. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't that kind of try hard team. So it all comes with like the mentality you put behind the team and what your intention is with building that team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
comes back
that's
to that.
really important to cover here, that there are teams that are together for fun. There are teams that are together for the competitive experience, but they are not trying to aim for winning big tournaments and things like that, but still want to compete. And then there are try-hard teams who really want to get there and get their names out in the open. So for the fame and fortune, as they say. So yeah.
I guess that's another thing, and I don't know that much about this, but tournaments that are out there, the only ones I know of would be the GG series, and then sometimes Jane's stuff, and then possibly the open division stuff. Like, I don't know how much more there is out there that's third party out there.
And there are a lot of third-party tournaments actually on sites like Battlefly or Tournament. You can organize your own, and there are a lot of local ones, national ones, as well as regional ones that you can take part in. I remember when I actively played in a team, we had a cup kind of thing on every Saturday. And this is the same thing, like built from the bottom up. Somebody who is participating in building competitions for the community just goes out there and states that they want to do this. There are sites for players to search for these kinds of tournaments. I'm not sure about the participation rates right now, but back in season 1-ish or before that, these amateur level competitions were quite popular. So I know about that. But these are not big money tournaments. You can win $10 per player or something like that.
Well, yeah, no, I just don't know how easily, I don't know how well promoted those type of things are for teams to find, like how much hunting it takes. Because that's one thing I never really understood, because I think TJ did a lot of the tournament hunting back with Nevermore. Or was that more you, Dandy?
I help TJ a lot, so you really have to know where to look in order to find these tournaments. A lot of them have their own Discord servers. If you literally just go into Google, like Overwatch tournaments, you can find pages for them, but you have to be specifically looking for them in order to find them. Like, there are a lot of Battlefy, especially, is a really good tool to use them, as an Alien mentioned, because there are like tons and tons of tournaments that go on, but they're a lot smaller and they don't get very well advertised at all.
Yeah.
I had no idea about all this. I'm learning something. The only tournament I knew about was GGEU and the Peasant Cup and stuff, and obviously Overwatch League.
Yep, GGEU, Peasant Cup. There's another big one called the Rose Cup. That's a huge one. If you guys ever want to participate in something like that, I
need a team. I don't think they'll take a plat though, you know.
No, they have a plat division. You can play.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they have it divided into ranks?
Yes.
What?
What?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
GGEU all over again.
Dude, it's like better than Open Division. Why isn't the Rose freaking tournament
Open Division? It's Open Division like all ranks anyway.
Yes.
Yes.
It is. You would think they would match it up a little bit better.
Like, imagine if it was just an all bronze team versus an all masters team, and like
yeah, that's happened.
That happened to us. That happened to me and Baggins.
Before.
It happens a lot, actually.
We went against an all bronze team, and we were a plat team.
And then you get matched against the GM team.
4-0, 3-1, 3-2.
3-0.
Hello.
3-0. How'd you win 3-0? Oh, yeah. Shouldn't you play all maps, though, anyway?
I think that's what it was in that tournament, yeah.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't, like, negate the fact that...
No, it just counts the maps for points.
So we have some more joining us. If you guys want to pitch in, feel free to, and welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. We bring tea and cookies.
That's right.
I would love some.
Would you like some biscuits?
Yes.
I don't have any.
Put it in the CD tray.
We ran out of biscuits. Let me get the biscuit tin.
All right, so we started to talk about what it takes to play in a team, talking about you're a plat, you're a masters. Do you guys have anything in mind about what kind of rank would you recommend for starting to look for teams, or is there any
rank? It's an any rank sort of thing. I mean, sort of like bronze or silver, finding gold upwards, I'd say. Bronze or silver, I'd say work on yourself. Gold upwards, go and try and maybe find a team, work as a team, learn teamwork and stuff. Because I started being in a team when I was silver and I had no idea what I was doing. As soon as I hit gold, I knew exactly what I was doing. I think it's just when you're down with lower ranks, it's kind of like you don't know exactly what you're doing. But as soon as you hit somewhere like gold or plat, like the average, you finally realize, oh, this is what I'm actually supposed to be doing now. And then when I hit about there, I was kind of like, okay, so I guess I joined a team now so that 1, I can improve itself, and 2, I can actually learn how to be a team player.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, any rank is viable if you know what you're doing, but I'd just say maybe stay away if you're bronze or silver. If you're gold upwards, I'd say, yeah.
Definitely if you're bronze or silver, because there's such a limited availability for how many people you can get, one for scrims and two the amount of scrims you can. It's very dependent on making sure that you are able to give yourself resources to work with. And when you're in bronze and silver, you don't have many resources available to you. Even in gold, it's kind of hard to find a consistent amount of scrims depending on the time of night you want to be able to scrim as a team. So definitely like plat and upwards, you're perfectly fine. Gold, it gets kind of iffy, and then silver and bronze, I've seen like almost non-existent.
Yeah, there are
I've
only a
seen almost
handful.
non-existent teams, like unless you're playing in GGEU or something. Because I remember playing in a gold team, but they somehow allowed a silver flex DPS to go on our team, and I was kind of iffy because literally every other team had gold, just
Yep.
like in gold, and we were the only team with at least 1 or 2 silvers, which kind of iffed me off a bit. Like, why
Yeah.
they got all golds and we've got 1 silver? That kind of, it's not
Yeah.
fair. But then,
It's
I mean, we played fine. He was
I
good.
think they allow anywhere between, it's GG, right? They allow anywhere between 250 SR above or below for
That's,
entry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
How's
guess.
this all on the collegiate level, Baggins? Do you have any kind of requirement when somebody goes to the university and wants to join a team?
Right now, our requirements are simply academic based.
Yeah.
So you have to have a 3.0 coming in,
Okay.
and you cannot drop out of a 3.0 GPA, or else you will. If you've just dropped out, you'll be benched to give you a chance to get it back up. If it continues for too long, you'll be kicked out of the team completely, and you can try again next semester if your GPA is back up.
And what?
But
Yeah.
since I'm slightly coming into more of the decision making of the team, what I plan on doing with the team, if our coach slash manager, whatever he wants to call himself, allows me to, I personally, from what I've seen, is that mid plat and up are the people that are going to have the drive to get better and work with the team more.
Mm-hmm.
I do have 4 low goals, like we're talking 2200, 2100 gold players on my team. About 2 of them are actually taking it full on seriously, trying to improve, and it's not anything that they're doing necessarily, it's just not working. Because with gold, you really want to improve, and then but it's the gold scene. So then when things go badly, they go really badly. So that really hurts their motivation to get better.
Yeah.
Whereas in plat, things don't go as terribly whenever they go bad. It's just like, okay, I did a few things wrong, I need to fix this. So from what I've seen, mid plat is like about the point where people teeter between I want to improve, I want to get better, and I just kind of want to play the game, but I know I'm like above average, but I don't really care to like get super good at the game.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm going to try and implement more of a plat and above. If you're gold, get to plat first, because at that point you're already above the average player base on game knowledge and all that, and the rest of it I can coach you on. But like gold, it seems from everything, like I was in gold once, hated it. Every season made sure I got out of gold just so that I'd eventually start placing in plat. And then I've dealt with these gold players, and it's like it's not the same amount of drive. Like, yes, they say I want to improve. They say I want to get better, but I look at what the plat players on my team are doing and the gold players are doing outside of practice, and you see the plat players taking way more of an initiative to get better than the gold players are, because their games are being a little bit better. They have more confidence even when it's a loss. Whereas down in gold, they're like, I just lost 15 games. I don't want to play anymore because I'm just going to go down further. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you got to keep playing. You got to look at your self improvement. You got to take the resources that either I've given you or you found yourself to do the improvement process, self VOD reviews, looking at things, going to coaches, getting opinions. I don't see many gold players doing that,
I did.
but I see a lot of plats doing it.
It's just an R team in particular, and
It is an R team in particular. I'm not saying there aren't golds that will do this. I'm just saying from all the things that I've seen, the amount of motivation differs vastly between gold and plat. Because when you're at plat,
in
you're
NA, yeah,
especially in NA, because like when you're in plat, you're like the next goal is that shiny diamond logo. Like you want that if you're wanting to improve. Whereas in gold, you just get this platinum thing going on, but like
Okay.
diamonds where everybody sees like whoa.
yeah. It's kind of
So
how
it's kind of a mentality thing too. I mean, there's always exceptions to everything. Like there's always going to be an exception. It's
Sure.
just from everything I've seen, plat is where the motivation really hits hard and they stick with the motivation for a longer period of time.
And that's something that we noticed last semester because we had like 15 players, and the majority of them
Yeah.
were silvers and golds, and
Mhm.
half of them came from console and came to PC to play. And you could see who was more motivated to play to actually want to be competitive and win games, and who were just there to have a 6-stack to play with.
Mhm.
You know,
And it also comes
just
down
have-
to what you're
yeah.
wanting to get out of a team environment. If you're
Mhm.
just wanting to find a 6-stack to play together that's going to be semi-organized, then that's a completely different environment than I'm playing to be on a team to win games, to win tournaments, and learn and improve at the same time. Like there are two different types of teams.
And
And when it comes to
representing
university, you're representing an organization. So your goal is to win. It
Mhm.
is to make your university look good. And so if you don't have the mentality of I want to win no matter the cost, no matter what the team needs out of me, then it's not going to be the environment for you. It's going to be a completely different type of team dynamic.
So
And
people should really approach this like any other kind of sports team where you are
Mhm.
representing your university. So to sum it
Yes.
up, you mentioned experience, and we all mentioned here even before the collegiate one, experience, motivation, skill
Mhm.
as well. So you really have to be there to give yourself for the team if the team wants to do that. For the university team, that's really just a set of rules, I guess, because you are representing something. And as we discussed with the amateur teams, it's more like you have to find a group of people that share the goals with you. I coached a few teams, and one of the main issues were that they didn't have the same goals. They grouped up
Mhm.
together because they found each other's some Discord, and they were at kind of the same skill level, but the time commitment and the goals were not the same. And you're only going to have a good team if people share the same goal. Like even if that's reaching that diamond logo, that still motivates the team. If it motivates them as a whole, it's going to work and it's going to be fun. If someone wants to go into Overwatch League from a team which is mostly golds, and the others just want to have fun, I can nearly guarantee you that the team is going to disperse, or at least the player who has a different goal is going to leave soon.
Mhm.
So
That's the biggest thing is just determining what you want out of it and making sure everyone's on the same page. Because if you don't, you're either going to no one say anything for about 5 to 6 months and then it all falls apart very
that's right.
quickly, or you're gonna find out really quick and not waste your time for 5 to 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, it hurts sometimes to find it out, but it's usually still the best kind of investment that you can do. So now
Mhm.
we got into the identifying your goals before joining a team. So can you guys pitch in what kind of goals you had when you joined your first team?
Getting better
Okay.
and reaching a shiny logo. I want GM.
Nice.
But usually it's just, I think for when I first joined, it was definitely improvement, self-improvement, improvement as a team, kind of
Yeah.
like try hard and winning a tournament, at least one somewhere.
It feels really good.
Yeah, it does feel good.
Anybody else?
When I joined an amateur team, my goal, which I unfortunately did not state, and I ended up being one of the people that at the end of their time felt like it was something that could have been avoided. But I personally wanted to, it was a lot of self improvement, but I also want to be a part of a team that everybody's goal was self improvement. It was helping each other out, getting better together. And it was just like that real team experience that, like, you'd see in a normal sport, football, soccer,
Yeah.
baseball, like that's what I was looking for. And that's going to be really hard in amateur just for the simple fact that there's time commitments elsewhere. There's other things that prevent people from putting in that kind of effort. And so I didn't really realize this until I joined my university's esports, where it's like, all right, you're getting a scholarship now, so you're representing a university, so we expect you to, like, actually be involved, make sure you're trying to improve yourself. Like, it's the kind of environment where, because you're kind of forced to be something, you want to get better, you know that you can't do
You are cutting off
greater thing.
a little bit.
Cutting off.
Or I am
Yeah.
cutting off, maybe. Can you hear my voice well? It's probably me. Let's reconnect. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I had connection issues. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Okay, so that
I had-
that wasn't on my end. Good. Okay,
Oh,
my
thank
thing
God.
was breaking out.
My thing was going wacko, and I was up the roof. I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
Everyone?
there we go. Mine's back now.
I thought my router was freaking out. I was like, no, I have to turn it off in the middle.
Yeah, my
of
thing
this
went
stream.
red. I'm like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah, same.
Oh.
That was a Discord thing then.
Oh,
All
okay.
right,
Yeah,
cool.
servers.
Oh,
Continue,
no.
Lucas.
I'm just saying that basically my goal was that actual sports team feel, and I couldn't find that in amateur. Whereas since this is a university-based thing, it's like that's expected of it, and so it's still even slightly off of what I'm wanting, but it's way closer than I got with amateur. And it's like, now that I look at it, there's no reasonable. I should not have expected that out of people, who have jobs, who have lives, who can't commit that much time and effort to something like that. It's not something that can be realistically expected with an amateur team, unless like your GM, and it's basically becoming your life.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anyone else?
For myself, I started on a team when I was in silver, but I joined a plat team, and I quickly got a lot better, seeing as that while I was there, I learned I myself orient myself as more of a team player. So when you just have to tell me what to do, and I'll figure out like the best way to do it. But like I need to know what to do, and because Overwatch doesn't offer you that kind of guidance for every role and every kind of like in different play styles of how you do that, a lot of it is self-taught or learning from other resources.
Yeah.
But I feel like the best way to learn how to do it is with other people who are willing to work with you, so that way you all get better together. So when I joined the team first, I joined, what was it? I think in the middle of GOATS era.
Oh no.
Hey,
Right,
don't say oh
Baggins?
no. I'll slap you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I slap you, boy.
I have a problem with goats. I
I have a problem with dive.
Oh geez.
Don't, please, no, don't go into that.
No, you crossed the line.
We can do this after the stream.
Yes,
Please.
I will fight you all.
We
One
can do
Okay.
this
let
after.
Dandy finish.
I think it's a 1v1 tournament after.
Guys,
Sorry, Dandy. I apologize.
Sorry, Dandy.
it's okay. It's okay. I know my story is boring. I started like Neutrino. I was Lucio main. I learned to play
Yes.
Lucio for GOATs, and I thought that was a great experience to learn how to play with other people together, because they were like, okay, once we got an actual coach and we had some sort of structure, he was like, okay, so this is your job as a Lucio. You're going to do this, this, and this. You're going to move the team around. You don't leave the team. The only time you do is to go boop the Rhine out of position, and then you guys go ham. And I was like, okay, great, I can do that. and then from there, it just kind of builds, because once you learn how to do something successfully in one sort of aspect, as you learn, and as you move through different teams or different styles of play and heroes and different things like that, your brain starts clicking. You're like, oh, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I could be, you start finding extra ways to make your job better, because you want to make the team better, because you guys want to win. That is the ultimate goal here, is to win.
Yeah.
And to do that is to improve yourself so well to the point where nothing can beat you.
Well, that's an inspiring speech. I will strive to be a better player.
Yes. Always strive for the team. My mentality is always team first for the team. And I feel like I've given myself much more of that ever since I started managing my team.
Oh,
So-
nice.
took control.
So a
GG
lot more
Dandy.
a lot more time and effort goes into the team to make sure they succeed. And
Mhm.
that's always what I want to be, is someone to help somebody else succeed.
Well, then, can you carry me from gold to plat?
Yeah.
I
And
can
that's about
help.
the
It's my main account. It won't go out, and I'm finding my way out of bloody plat into diamond. How is this happening?
So
You
just
know, health sucks.
listening to Dandy's experience, you just have to find a plat to diamond team, and you can learn a lot more.
Guess I need to find a diamond team.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's even beneficial, even if you don't necessarily join as a player, but like I've seen in that new coaching Discord I sent you, Alien, like
Yep.
some people recommending that you just like a lot of teams that are trying to take it seriously will bring on volunteer VOD recorders.
Yeah, that's right.
And so even if you can get it into something like that where you're just spectating, you're watching, but you watch and listen with a purpose. You
Mhm.
try and understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. If you're wanting to learn a specific role, you just focus on that player. And you try and find a team that's at least a rank or two above you. And you just analyze why are they doing this. Try and maybe ask some questions after the fact, like, I'm trying to improve. I don't mind doing the VOD reviews for you guys or the recordings for you guys, but I'm also trying to improve. So could you give me some tips as to why you're doing this, why you're
Yeah.
doing that? And that's another way you can do some self-improvement without a whole lot of like having to grind comp. Like there's a lot of ways to improve outside of just grinding the game that are highly beneficial.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I had the same experience with my team when we used to play. We had people coming up to practice with us each day. They were recording VODs and helping us with the reviews. So even if you don't play actively, you can still learn a lot. And some of these players are not really there to play because they just enjoy the game itself and they just want to be part of the team experience. And when we went to a LAN party together, they were there as well. And it's really the team experience that mattered to these guys.
Actually, I can see. I can say something on that. I did. This was in a different server. It was Heartbeat Esports team. I think I joined a while ago. I don't know why, but I'm still in it. I was just literally doing absolutely nothing on the server. I think they had a server, Minecraft server, whatever, and I was just messing about. And I joined a voice chat because I got lonely a bit, and I ended up accidentally joining a VOD review, like, or by accident. They were in a voice chat they weren't supposed to be in. So there are a bunch of these GMs with their coach just sat in a room doing their VOD review. So I decided to stay there, and I ended up doing a VOD review with some GM players,
Nice.
which was nice.
Nice.
It was just completely random.
Yeah,
I just joined. They were like, "Uh-oh, what's going on here?"
The wonders of the open channels on different discords. Like you can find a team. I used to play with a group who I just found basically randomly, and we played together for months.
Scuffed.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Okay. Cool. So it's the team experience. It's the way to improve. Anything else? Goals before joining the team.
Yes, those are important.
Very
Priorities
important. Very
are
important.
extremely important, because if you join the most hard team and you're only there to kind of like casually
Yeah.
learn how to get better, but you're not there to grind your way through contenders straight to Overwatch League, then they're gonna have some issues with you, because they're
Yeah.
gonna be yelling at you for screwing up,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be like, why does everyone hate me? They don't hate you, I promise. They just want you to be doing your job the way they think you should be doing it.
Yeah. The
But
shared course.
you're
They
not
still
giving
don't have
off.
to be rude about it.
No, they
Come
don't have to be rude about it, but it's the same. They're all there in the same mentality, so they don't find it rude. They think you're there to do it the same way they are, which is, guys, what are you doing? Come on, get your head in the game. We got stuff to do. We got practice to be doing, and we can't have you slacking like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry, I've only been here like twice a week. I've only been on Overwatch for like a couple times a week. I can't make the time dedication that you guys do. And they're like, well, Thank you, next.
You
Kind of Ariana
really
Grande it.
really have to find a common ground to be able to
I need a
enjoy.
team like that.
So, anyone else here? We have a few who joined us late. If you have any questions or want to pitch in, just feel free. You are on mute mostly, but
I have a question. When is it lunchtime?
lunch
know.
too.
I just had to ask that question. It's just one of those questions, you know.
Okay,
What do you got?
it's soon.
It's unimportant, but it's just there.
If you ask that question, the default answer is that it's soon TM by Blizzard.
Fair enough.
You have a phone, don't you?
There's a full Wikipedia article on soon by Blizzard. That's really good.
I
I'm
will
having a
read
look
that
at
later.
that. I'm having a look at that.
It goes
And if-
from tomorrow to the end of all times, and it's in between somewhere.
All right. Anybody else?
Going back to the topic, I
Yes,
think it's
please.
just. Oh yeah, if you're muted, you can unmute and talk
Yeah,
if you want.
Wicho muted himself, and he was about ready to talk, and then we had the dumb
Oh.
question about lunch, and so
Would you know?
No. Don't worry.
Which
Don't
you-
worry about me.
Speak.
speak, Wicho, speak, boy.
Speak.
I'm sorry. I'm not really good with English, and
That's okay.
It's
I'm
okay.
not good with it either.
Me neither.
It's
Yeah,
okay. We don't know your language.
Yes.
It's
tal vez
precisely.
sí, uno no sabe.
That's right.
Yes.
You're Brazil,
Was
aren't
that-
you?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not really a competitive person. I'm not part of a team, but I do have friends who have teams, and they want to improve. And since they are not here, I wanted to come here and learn something for them.
Mhm.
So maybe I
They
get
won't
pitched.
bother to come themselves.
Well, they are not in this server, and they're
No.
working.
They
So,
should
yeah.
be. Is
They
there a
should be
reason?
in this
Is there a reason
It's
why
not
you are
really.
not in a team?
I only play Overwatch with I only play Overwatch with Mercy.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Yeah, that's my issue. I have
That's
over
hard.
300 hours on Mercy.
It's an M1T, a Mercy 1 trick.
Okay.
Hey,
No, I really like it,
Wichu
but
carries me. Wichu carries me all day long in games, bruh.
I
Okay,
love
never
it.
mind.
Kiss my Wichu.
Yeah. I'm
fight
trying
for you,
to play other roles.
Mhm.
I've been trying to play as a tank.
Wait, Torn, who do
I
you
like
main though?
Sergeant.
Role?
I'm
Sorry, that's yeah. Sorry, no, sorry. Sorry about
Go ahead, Wichu. You keep
Go, Wichu.
going.
Okay.
You're getting very
Uh,
excited here.
I'm sorry. I've been trying to play as a tank. I
Ooh.
can play as all the tanks mostly, except with Reinhardt. I just can't. I don't know why. And DPS is not really my thing, but I like Junkrat. And I want to improve as a healer. I want to learn how to play with Ana and maybe Senyara and Lucio. So I've been trying to play with my friends in competitive
Mhm.
to try to help them to get out of bronze and silver. And that's why I'm here. I'm sorry.
Cool. That's good. Blackzone, you also unmuted yourself.
Oh yeah, I just had a question about when you're joining a team, would it be better to join a team that's a little bit higher ranked than yourself, or just about the same rank?
I'd say a little
Is-
bit higher.
A little
Alright.
bit higher.
But I
If-
mean,
If they're
Yeah.
willing to take you, definitely take the higher rank because you'll learn how to play the game much faster paced. So when you climb, you're already used to it.
Perfect.
just all right. I'm gold. Let's try and find a GM team out there who'll take me.
Not
Yeah,
quite that high agenda.
I think the highest you'd probably want to go is maybe like
Plat.
bare like minimum 500 SR difference, and then the absolute max if you're willing to put in the time and effort 1,000 SR difference. But
I want to do that.
Yeah.
it'd also be understanding that you're more if you are going onto a higher ranked team that you will more than likely be a sub, and that you need to be okay with that, and just use that bench time as a learning experience. Learn from the team, learn from the people above you, and then show them that you're improving through, your rank going up, your, VOD, you do VOD reviews with them or something, and show that you are improving and fight for that front spot is like the goal of when you're on the bench. Is the other thing, since we're talking about goals, is you have to be realistic with your goals. Understand where your limits are. If you want to be like GM or something, but you're also working 2 jobs, be realistic with that. Like, it's going to be extremely hard to get the time commitment just
Yeah.
out of it unless you make the little time you have very, very productive. So it's just, there's also the fact of understanding where your limitations are and what a realistic goal is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When joining a team,
My
I would
goal-
say that you shouldn't be too far off your comfort zone. Like joining something that's higher compared to your level, that's going to be useful for your improvement, but too high, it's going to overwhelm you, and you should pay attention not to do that.
Mhm.
I will say that because I did do that. I was a silver player who joined a plat team, and you have to make sure that the players are aware that you're a lower rank and you're going to make more mistakes than someone who's at that rank would. So you're obviously going to mess up a little bit sometimes, and they need to be patient with you, and they can't, not that they can't get mad at you, but they can't be very aggressive about it because
Yeah.
you're still learning, and because they were there once at one point. So
That
I
sounds like
actually
my Masters player talking to my gold players.
Yeah.
Man, that
Yeah,
Oh.
let's look at that,
conversation.
little Timmy.
I will say, because I did actually kick the plat player that was on the team that I trialed for, the one me and Baggins were on. I kicked the plat player out of that spot because he was messing up more than I was, and I was actually willing to play with the team and make sure that I was doing everything I could to be the best that I could. So I ended up from a sub, I went to starter, and we kicked that guy back into sub, and he left the team. He got mad that a silver player overtook him.
You had the skills, but you just needed the good environment to be able to improve.
Ooh.
It's always about like fostering the proper environment.
Yeah.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And that's why I left that team too, because when I was the off support for that team, the DPS player used to get mad at me because I was boosting him while he was screaming at me, boost me, even though I was already there. And he treated me like a heal bot, so I left.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a heal, if no one could be treated like a heal bot, you're Lucio. Just Reddit.
No, because I was off support, so they stuck me on Mercy, even though that should have been the main support's job. But the main support only wanted to play Ana. So
Have you tried
one
Nano
was-
Mercy?
OP.
Oh no, what? Just Nano B.
Alright,
Nano Valkyrie.
so we got into the how to find a good team part, what to look for. And before that, I just wanted to add to the goals. I have been playing competitive games from the age of 13. I think that was the first time we got broadband internet. And it's, for me, comp games are, yes, about the team and about the improvement, but I am also an adrenaline junkie of some sort. So I really like competition, and I really like competition where there is stake to it, like participating in tournaments, participating in LAN parties when you are out there in the stage with your team who you have been practicing with, and a few hundred people watches you live. It's
what I want.
overwhelming and it's
Like,
really good. And I was always doing competitive for those kinds of feelings.
Man, it must have been good to do that. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
I wish.
Cool. So how to find a good team, what to look for, it really depends on, as we discussed, the goals that you have and the goals if they align with the team. So let's talk about how does a scrim look like, or how does a week look like in a team's life. And let's start with the collegiate one, so university teams. What do you guys do on a week? What kind of commitment do you require?
Too much some days.
Well, I will admit this is our second semester with the esports team, so it's not like we're set in stone or anything. But the ultimate goal is always just to be more organized. So what I want and what I'm hoping to eventually make happen is at least one scrim almost every day with the team that's either higher SR or even as best as we can find. And basically, we do that scrim. If it takes up the whole block, it takes up the whole block. That's fine, because then the next day, if we don't have a scrim, we go over a VOD from that scrim, and I'm having them use insights, and I tell them, all right, watch yourself, make notes, and then when we go up front, we'll take those notes and talk about how it impacts the team environment. But I want you focusing on yourself as kind of you're doing a self VOD review, and then we'll use that self VOD review to look at how that affects the team and whether that's something you need to improve on or if it's a team thing that's holding you back in that area. And then we always encourage the players, play comp outside of practice. There's not, don't ignore your schoolwork, but like be trying to improve outside of practice. Practice is not the only place you can be doing stuff. Practice is obviously the focused area where you're like hyper focused on working with the team, improving with the team. But outside of practice, you should also then transition to improving yourself. That will in turn help the team improve as well. So like, don't, we want you playing, but also not making it to where you can't do your schoolwork because we're academic based scholarships. So you got to keep that 3.0. I know looking at Mizzou's, theirs is a lot more strict of a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They're like 7 to 8 hours in a day that they're doing stuff, and so
Okay.
it depends on how established you are and how willing your university is
And how much
basically
money your
willing to
university
get
has.
involved with you and give you funding and to get you the right staff and people.
Mhm.
But
That's the
I
difference,
mean,
yeah.
as of right now, I'm trying to set a structure of at least a scrim a day and maybe one day where there's not a scrim. It's just completely workshop looking at VODs. Like last week we did trying to figure out how to fix our call out comms because we're using left, right, up, down a lot. And we all know in certain situations that's completely relative to
Yeah.
the player. And so I was trying to get them to think a little more about, does left right make sense in this situation, or is it going to be relative? And if they think it's going to be relative, to then try and figure out a location call out. So we did a little workshop on that with Winston's finding a Sombra and calling out her location, and that also helps with target as well. So you get target and location based call outs.
Mhm.
So just you try and work on little things. You're not trying to burn your players out, just scrims and a workshop at least.
All right. What's about the other side, the amateur one? Dandy, can you pitch in?
Yeah, sure. So in a completely homebrew team, for lack of a better term, I don't like to use the word amateur only because that would imply we're trying to go or somewhere or something.
Okay.
But that's a different variant
Yeah.
of team. Okay, so the type of team I run, it's all voluntary work. So it's you have your players basically tell you when your availability is, when everybody can play, what time everyone's comfortable playing at, because they have to make a commitment for 2 hours, which is the length of a regular scrim block.
Mhm.
So normal time would usually be around, standard is like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. around then is
What
when
kind of just a quick question.
Yes.
What kind of time zone would that be in? I'm
EST.
interested in your team.
we play EST because I'm NA, right? So
All right.
we play for 2 hours, and I have to make sure everyone's able to commit a certain amount of time a week, and then we agree to however many times we want to play a week, and then what days are good for everybody, and who can make those times, and then for us usually it's all vote based. I make sure everybody's comfortable with doing everything all together, or we can't do it.
Mhm.
Because of how small my team is. So at one point we were playing 3 scrims a week. We would play Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday nights at 8 p.m. EST. And we'd always scrim about 2.4K to 2.7K teams. And for something like that, I have to make sure that everyone's going to be able to attend. Even though they said they could, I take attendance anyways. I take attendance maybe 8 hours before the scrim happens.
Just to make
So
sure.
like yeah, just to make sure, because if somebody needs to, for God forbid, whatever reason, there's an emergency or they can't play, I have time to find a ringer or to find a team that's more accommodating to the fact that I'm going to be short a few players.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then I go out and go through the looking for scrim channels. I go find a team within that range, so 2.4 to 2.7k, and then we meet up for the scrim and then we play.
Can I get an invite to the team? I am really interested now. I am a flex DPS main at 4K on main account though.
Dandy,
Thank
you're
you.
not supposed to self-advertise on the stream.
I'm not
Okay, that does it. I'm running one of our ads right now on the stream. I'm doing it right now. Here we
Sponsored
go.
by Coca-Cola.
the official drink of
Crunch
Overwatch.
time.
With cheese it grooves.
Coca-Cola.
Anyone?
No, it's cheese it grooves.
Oh no.
Anyone else with experience on how teams work? Because these are more of the structured ones. Like you are taking a lot of time to manage the people.
I made that structure.
Yeah, I know, but like you both said that you have some kind of structure. You're playing like every day ish or
Oh,
in
you're
a
looking
setup.
for like the more disorganized stuff.
Yeah, any
Wait, pardon,
experience with
what?
that?
Okay. Yeah. So
Pardon.
yes. Hi.
I'm really confused.
Okay.
I
So
like everything that's going on.
there's
About
there's like two kinds of teams you can really be on. There's a structured team which has coaches, managers, analysts, stuff like that, or you
Alright.
could have teams of like basically peer
Friends.
peers and peer reviewed players. So like you guys would be
Player
the,
ran.
so it's player in. So you guys would be coaching and managing yourselves. So there'd be no communication as to when scrims will be. So like you guys will be like, hey, do you feel like scrimming tonight? Yeah, no, whatever. Do you guys want to play comp? Yeah, cool. Or if you guys can't show up, then you just don't scrim that week, or you don't scrim that day, and nobody's told anything until like the last minute.
Nobody really tries to enforce a whole lot. It's more of a
Yes.
very casual, like, if you can do it, sure, come on in. But like, if you can't, it's okay. We just won't do anything this week. It's whatever.
yeah.
Yes.
The beauty
So
of
like
this. Yeah.
you could have a schedule set up so you'd be like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday we scrim, and then Saturday is a VOD review, and Sunday is a team review. But you'd only get so many people showing up for specific things. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So really, I feel like the beauty of this is that we have a whole range of different kinds of organization models that we can do, and we can be really free with how we scrim and still like have big goals. Maybe they are not realistic, but you can still participate in competitions with a group of friends or peers who share the same goal with you. And on the other hand, if you have a well-structured environment, it's going to be better for preparing for these kinds of tournaments, probably. So it's really up to you to decide what kind of thing you want to take part in.
Yes.
Cool. So how does a scrim look like? Like, let's talk about that, because I'm not sure if anyone has any questions, because we had some people joining us. So if you want to pitch in, you want to ask a question, just go ahead. But the question is right now is, how does a scrim look like? Let's explain that for anyone who has not seen that before.
A scrim. It's kind of just two teams meeting up to play against each other. It's kind of like it's like a competitive vibe between two teams trying to get the better of each other. But they're like, they don't know each other. That's the thing. Like in tournaments, it's kind of like a tournament vibe, except it's not. It's just practice, working on improvements and stuff like that, and coming over it, and then going into another scrim, improving and stuff like that. It's kind of like a tournament, but improving, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scrim, which is short for scrimmage, is the act of two teams meeting together, yeah, like you said, in order to play in a more controlled environment where two teams come in with the intent of improving rather than to win, to experiment to see with what kind of strategies can work and what kind of comps they can run and what kind of limits they can push. It's more about experimentation and improvement rather than it is about winning, but it's giving yourself a more controlled environment in the sense that you're going against people who are all as a coordinated team. So it's like what comp is supposed to be.
Yeah, that's really true. Like originally, the game itself was meant to
Imagine
play.
comp being like scrimmage. Oh my.
Yeah, like that
That'd
was
be-
the
that'd be
original idea.
blissful. Well, they certainly screwed up somewhere.
They introduced comp to make it appeal to the wider audience, but as far as I know, in the beginning of the beta, there was only competitive mode for pre-made teams, and that was the idea about Overwatch.
And then the entire beta community cried out and said, "You can't do that,
Yeah.
Jeff. We need to have solo queue."
Yeah, that's right. That's how it is.
Solo queue and no team. So, thank
But
you,
look- I have a
beta
question.
teams.
But look at
Yes.
us now. We're
Answer?
just a bunch of idiots. And I want to get higher.
Someone has a
I heard
Nah,
a
question?
screw
question.
you.
I heard a
Yeah.
question.
Question.
Does
Hi.
tilting still happen and people get upset and maybe try to leave or anything?
Tilting does still happen, yes, but you cannot leave a scrim. You
I mean,
it's one,
technically
it's
you
rude to the
can.
other team, and two, it doesn't help if you rage quit.
Usually, when it gets to that point, it's up to the coach or manager to call for we need a 5-minute break. Can you give us that or a pause to help your team mentally reset? Because the whole point in a scrim is you're not trying to win. Like you obviously want to have the mentality of we're going to win this so that you're playing the best you can and you're playing the comp to your best ability. But that's not you're like if we lose, this is a detriment to the team. It's like okay, that didn't work. We'll analyze later why it didn't work, or if we have some quick notes, we can jot those down and go into the next game with those notes and try to improve on those sections. Like when I'm doing a scrim and I'm just overviewing the team because I'm not in at the moment, I'll be listening to comms, I'll be looking at the rotations, I'll be like between fights, if say my Ana's out of position, I'll be like, you need to be over here at this corner. It's just a better spot for you. Try not to be out in the open. And then I leave comms. And then, if comms are getting really bad, I'll be like, guys, focus up, keep comms clear. We need to stay focused here. And then between maps, you can go a little more in depth. But the whole tilting thing, it shouldn't happen because of the way the scrim's set up. Everyone realizes this is a practice environment. Everyone's trying new things. If the new thing doesn't work, obviously it's going to not work very poorly, and so it's going to be really bad. And since you're usually trying to scrim teams around the same SR, it shouldn't be like you're getting wiped or anything. If you happen to get that where they lied about their SR range, tilt is obviously going to be a thing because like they lied about their SR, and so you're playing Masters team. It does happens
Yeah.
more often than you'd like.
I have it. I've done that twice. I was scrimming with a gold team, and we ended up playing against a bunch of Smurfs. 3 Smurfs from GM and 3 Smurfs from Masters. Absolutely
Yep.
terrible. Half our team tilted, and we decided to back off from scrim because it was an unfair variety. The whole team decided that. Coach did as well. And next scrim, bunch of Diamond Smurfs, and so we stopped scrimming for about a week because we needed a mental reset. We went over VODs to just see this is how teams, what can we do better, to improve maybe against our own rank, and then we find ourselves literally destroying gold teams, so we went to plat straight away.
That's good.
Yeah, because we found ourselves against Smurf 2 times in a row.
Sometimes.
The main conclusion on the whole is their tilt. Yes, we're all human. Someone's going to tilt if it's going poorly. If they're taking it way too seriously, it might happen. But it is not like a thing where you see players leaving the lobby. They'll either get subbed out, team will ask for a mental reset period, or if like the situation of light SR happens, you can be like, hey, after one match, obviously, because you figure it out, like, hey, this isn't going to benefit us or you. Can we call the scrim short? And maybe in the future, when we've improved, we can try a scrim again. But right now, it's not beneficial to either team.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Does anyone else have any other questions while we're fielding them?
Do you guys ever purposely go after higher ranked just to see?
Yeah, sometimes.
As of yet, my team has not because sadly, basically what we called a coach before didn't really do what a coach should be doing. So now that I've taken over, we're actually getting the experience of what a coach should be doing, and so I think eventually that's what I would like to do. We do try, like, I know what our average is, and I have us listing for scrims like maybe 2 to 300 SR higher, so not like a crazy amount, but enough to where there's a bit of a skill gap range. And yeah, we have scrimmed harder teams like Diamond Average, where we're definitely not Diamond Average, and it wasn't horrible, but like it was hard enough to where there's probably not going to be a situation where we necessarily won the scrim, but we'd be able to look back at it and understand, okay, this is where our faults are. This is how a higher level team is exploiting us. Can we fix these exploits? And that's either on a team basis or an individual basis. As say our Ana's getting picked off way too often. Okay, why is this happening? What is the higher ranked team doing to exploit this? She's out in the middle of nowhere. Don't be out in the middle of nowhere, and you won't get exploited. It's things like that. So I would say, yeah, you probably would at some point when you're thinking, okay, we're getting a little too cushy here. We're like, quote unquote, winning scrims, and we're not really seeing much of a challenge. You'd want to get the reality check for the team so that they're not getting overconfident in their abilities. Like, yeah, we're doing really great. It's like, no, you still have a lot to learn, and here's your reality check.
Yeah, that's very
Ideally,
true.
you want to go against teams that are giving you an even fight, and that they're giving you some pause, but it's not them constantly rolling you over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for an example, when goats was a thing, like back in the heyday, the I think the apex of how well my team was doing was we were scrimming like mid diamond teams in goats because we weren't finding a challenge in gold or platinum. That's the reality of it. Sometimes is you have to go higher and higher in order to find yourself a challenge where you're meeting those kind of standards for yourself and for your team in order to improve.
Yeah, you kind of have to figure out why you are scrimming. So if you are just like want to work on communication, it's better to work against a team that's on the same level as you, because there are not going to be differences in the skill. It's going to be a difference in communication. But when you, for example, want to try to test something on like you figure out some comp that you want to run, and you feel like you have been running this really well against teams on your level, then it's time to see if it still stands against a higher level team. So you have to make the decision about what the goal is for the scrim actually, and then figure out if you want to go against a higher level. Going against a lower level team is like, I'm not sure what's the purpose there. Maybe to get some
It's called a homecoming game. That's usually where you invite the lesser team so that you look good. That's usually what it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
To make yourself
Feel good, yeah, maybe because you have been having a loss streak and the players are freaking out, and then you are searching for a game to reward them. Maybe it can happen. I can imagine.
well done, guys, for losing all those games. Here's the reward.
Yeah, like it works like that. You have to reward the players once in a while.
Mental is a very large part of team
That's right.
dynamic.
Can you go over the role of the
Role of what?
coach versus head coach?
Coach, like an assistant versus a head coach?
Or yeah, any kind of ability
I'll let Alien take that over.
coach.
I mean, you have a fresh experience with the team if you want to. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, so the role, okay. I have been looking up a lot of stuff on what a coach should be doing since I'm basically taking that position over. And I've been trying to learn from people like Spilo, Aplox, all these contenders coaches that are taking the time to explain these things to people that don't understand what the role of a coach is. And I'll probably actually later link a stream where 4 different coaches actually discuss this topic. And I'll post it in the general talk after this if I remember.
Yeah, this
You
is
can
a
remind
recent
me if
one.
you want.
Baggins,
Yeah,
what's
it's
the thing?
extremely recent. But basically, the role of the head coach is not necessarily to know everything. The role of the head coach is to simply be the guy that is the leadership pillar. He leads the team. He makes sure the team is staying focused. They're doing what they need to be doing. They can also, look for scrims and stuff if they want. But basically, they're the leadership position. They keep the team focused. They also have the final call on strategy, what the team wants to be doing. If like their analysis finds a 5% difference in like this would improve us, but if the coach thinks as of right now that's not a good call, they have that final say, and the rest of the team is expected just to respect that decision and understand that he's trying to make the best call for the team with the knowledge that he has. And that's also the goal of the other coaches and people, is to give him enough knowledge to make that decision without making a detriment to the team. Assistant coaches are more used for individualized coaching, so like one focuses on strategy, that'd be a strategist, but it's also like an assistant coach where they focus on well, he left, but I'll continue. They basically just focus on helping the strategy. Another coach might focus on helping players individually, where the head coach doesn't have time to do that. That's kind of what I've gathered, is that head coach is just basically
Yeah,
leadership role
that's right.
and making the overarching decision.
Yeah, being a head coach is sometimes really hard. Like, you have to make those decisions. You have to kick players if they don't fit your team. You have to make the decisions who to bring on board. Of course, you are going to get help, but at the end, you are the one making the decisions. And then the assistant coaches are, like, as you said, assigned to a specific task generally, to try to work with a team like that. Maybe WOD reviews, maybe one-on-one coaching, if that's something that you do. There are a lot of different things, and coaching itself is like esport coaching itself is really new, and we are still in the dark in most of the things. We are all doing something that we feel like works, and it generally works, but there is no set rules right now, or there are best practices, I would say, for how these positions should be assigned and how many of the stuff you should have. But we are still figuring it out for the most part. So now we flowed into the other jobs around teams that people can feel, and we touched the topic of coaches. We touched the topic of cameramen or WOD recorders, who are basically team members who record the games. What other kind of stuff, positions, do you guys can think of?
You also have like analysts that they're your like math junkies who like to crunch numbers, who like to look at patterns and figure out, okay, this comp on this map, like say it's a control point map. Okay, on the second map of Oasis, when we're running this comp, say 62% of the time we're failing when character A dies first.
Mhm.
And they just run a lot of numbers and try and give you the best statistics they can with the amount of information that they have, so that the head coach can make a decision of, okay, well, the stats are like we're winning 13% of the time with this comp. Is it because we're playing it wrong? Is it just simply a bad comp and we shouldn't be looking at it at this time and keep it on the back burner for when patches change? That's an analyst role. Then you have the managers or GMs, that it's like the kind of like team mom, where they keep everyone focused, including the head coach, to keep tabs on everyone, make sure everyone's doing their job as they're tasked with doing it. And if they're not doing it, then they're the guys that get on their case of, why aren't you doing your job the way you were tasked to do it, that we all agreed you should be doing it as. Basically, kind of like a head coach almost, but for the head coach included, keeping everyone on task.
I think the team mom really describes it really well.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Team mom is basically what the GM is, from my understanding.
The
And then
general
also,
manager?
yeah,
Yeah, the manager is just chasing down everybody to make sure they show up to scrims.
And I've also heard, at least in normal sports, that sometimes if the head coach is fired or has to leave and there's a period of there's no coach, that then they also are tasked with trying to fill that gap temporarily until a new coach can be plugged in. If there's no assistant coaches that want to take that role temporarily.
Yes. So management is basically just you set up the scrims for your team. You make sure everybody's on their way to scrims. You do like all the planning and outside work that nobody else wants to do.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you're the team mascot. You're like, go guys, go! You got this.
Cheering
If
them
you
on.
go to scrims, yeah.
Okay.
You won't see an analyst on most teams though, outside of like masters and GM teams though.
No, that's usually in we're talking highly organized contenders and OWL. Very rarely in anything below that will you see, unless there's someone that's wanting to get into it and has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's got to start somewhere, so you do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Always for free.
How it works.
Story of my life.
The story of my life.
We do this now. We do the work now, so our grandchildren will know what it's like to be yelling at a 14-year-old to get in the scrim.
That's right.
I don't want to get in the scrim.
Any other positions?
If I don't want.
Are you just wanting management, or you want other positions within an organization?
They're on the teams, which anyone could
team
take.
oriented.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't really. And you got your head coach, your assistant coaches, your strategist, which is also just a different name for a different
Another
type of
coach.
assistant coach. Yeah, they're basically an assistant coach with a specialized title.
You have
And you got your
coach
analyst and
variations of
GM.
coach.
Like
Didn't I
offensive
have-
coordinator, defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
like that.
And esports is basically really just 5 people for the staff and then the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your team doesn't really exceed more than 15 people.
What about a coach for a certain role? So,
That would be an assistant coach. I know the Dallas Field tried that last season. They tried having a support coach, a DPS coach, and a tank coach.
That didn't
They
go so
moved
well.
away from. Yeah, they moved away from it because there was this feeling of, am I overstepping my boundary of I want to mention something about how tank and support work together, but am I overstepping my boundary because I'm the support coach?
Yeah.
So usually you have someone that does focus on. If you have an assistant coach, you want to assign someone to individual coaching, or the head coach takes that on. Some head coaches like doing the individual stuff as well, or you both do it, and you're not really locked into I'm a support coach or I'm a tank coach. You try and be the coach for everybody, but you focus on the individual aspects of their play and try and link it into how to use the improvements into the team.
Yeah, it's like anybody who's ever worked in a job where you have 3 managers at work that day, and they're all saying different things.
Yeah.
You don't really
I know,
want that
yeah.
situation.
No.
Great.
Okay, you do this. Okay, no. You do this now. What? I am confusion.
Yes,
Mhm.
we try to eliminate that.
I think
Alright.
the idea of 3 different is cool, but there'd have to be an understanding of there's no overstepping boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just be more organization between the coaches, because obviously that kind of system works because it works in the other traditional sports, so it should be able to transfer over.
As
You'd
I
think.
mentioned, we are still figuring out how to do this, even on the
Mhm.
professional level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and yeah, when we are talking about non-organized teams, there can still be coaches around, but generally it depends on if the players want to bring somebody on board and if they have any kind of reach to do that, or they are good enough to be joined by a coach and stuff like that.
Chicken contendies.
Wow.
Chicken tendies?
This guy. Too soon.
I'm sorry.
Too soon.
No. If he can keep on bringing it, if Spilo can keep on bringing it up in every stream he goes into, I'm gonna bring it up because apparently that was a organization run by the players, even though they had staff.
Okay.
That doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, sometimes.
That
Like,
doesn't make any sense. Hello?
Yeah,
Chicken
that
tendies.
makes no sense.
okay, I think we covered all that we wanted today. Do anyone have any kind of question, something that you want to discuss?
I have a question
Uh,
about the structure. I know this was touched on earlier, but the actual is there any sort of resource or overall breakdown of this tier 3, maybe tier 4 thing, tier 2 and tier 1, what actual tournaments are available at each level, I guess, like broken down that way. We don't have to talk about it, but if anyone has a resource on that as sort of a starting point
Tier
for
3 and
goal
4.
setting and that kind of thing.
Tier 3 and
what's
4 are
tier
mostly. Tier 4 is basically like it's contenders, isn't it?
No.
Or
No, it's
no.
like
Tier-
super. It's like barely anything official. It's like,
Tier 4 is like
that's my
comp
understanding.
players getting together.
Homebrew.
Yeah, homebrew. Yeah.
That's you,
And
Dan.
Tier 1 is OWL, Tier 2 is Contenders, Tier 3 is Open Division
Divisions.
and
Ah,
Contenders
okay.
Trials, and then Tier 4 is Collegiate and below.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so
In Collegiate, what?
so T2 and
Well-
T1 is mostly what the Grandmaster and Master Player teams will focus on. It's mostly the GM top
4.6.
500. Yeah, like so GM top 500 teams will focus their energy on that because that's where they want to go.
hmm
Because when you play a game like Overwatch, the only direction you want to be going is up. So you focus your attention ahead on what you could be doing next. So you have to get yourself first to about Masters, Grandmasters, and then you start focusing T4, T3, T2, T1.
Sure. Yeah, I'm mostly curious about it seems like what folks know less about in general. Like the people who know about how tier 2 and tier 1 work are already at that level. They've gone through that, but there's far more common to not know how the tier 3 to tier 2 sort of transition occurs, or even how to get into like a tier 3 thing. And we've talked about that a bit here, but I'm curious, like when you're looking for what are some good resources for like getting into tier 3, for
Okay,
example?
so the transitions mostly. So
Mhm.
let's start from the very basic level. You're playing comp, you are good at it, you are trying to get into a team. You get into a team let's call that tier 4. If you want to, you can join Open Division and challenge yourself against other players. And then the top of the Open Division teams, there's a structure to the Open Division that you can look up how it works and how many games you have to play and in what frequency. But you are matched against other teams, and then the top of the Open Division, the top 4 of the Open Division players are matched against the bottom 4 of the contenders, and this is what it's called trials. And then they match for slots in the contenders season, and the contenders has a set of structure. Teams work against each other, and in contenders there are teams which are the academic teams for the professional players as well. And if you are really good at contenders, you have a good chance of being recruited by the top teams. I think basically that's it, unless I forgot something.
If you're looking to solo move into a T1, T2 team or something like that, you don't have to go through all of the T4, T3, T2, T1 teams, or you don't have to go through that whole basic ladder by yourself if you're good enough and the teams are looking for extra people because for whatever reason somebody drops out or they need an extra, like a sub or another player or something like that. They do post for contenders teams and for open division teams, they do post in very highly populated servers for players. It'll be like 4.5, 4.6k plus rating that you need to get in, but they do post for it.
Yeah, if you're interested in seeing something
A lot of
like
Discord
that,
servers, right?
Yeah, in like
Yeah.
very very big and very active ones. So
Like
like Jane's
Jane.
Elo Hell would be Jane's server is the biggest one honestly that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other ones like Overwatch University, amateur esports organization. I don't know if the link to that Discord's still available. I'm reticent to say that Scrim Finder will give you some, but I've seen some posts floating around there. But honestly, Elo has the biggest one that you'll see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in
Also,
how trials go, Jane has videos up in his YouTube channel about
Yes.
high-level trials. They are really good, like looking at them. So if you want to, you can check that out.
Thank you guys for those things. I think that's for a lot of the people that are kind of moving from a casual Overwatch game to a competitive one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
This is
problem.
the kind of thing they need.
You have to have the skills, but you also have to spend a lot of time on finding the opportunities for yourself, like networking, getting
Yeah.
to know the people, and then keeping an eye out for these kinds of things. And it's a widely different story talking about trials and what you need to do to perform well in a trial environment. But that's when you really at the top of the competitive ladder.
there's also the thing of having confidence in yourself. Just a little. This is on the coach side, but like, Spilo kind of explained how he got to where he was, and he would spend, 20, 30 minutes a day just emailing like
Yeah.
30 plus teams that he was open, he could do a free VOD review and stuff, putting himself out there, making sure that people knew he was there. Even if only half the people read those emails or Discord messages, that's still like 15 some odd teams that knew he existed. Again, that's on the coaching side, but even on the player side, you gotta, if you want to be really serious about it, you have to make sure you're known, that you're getting the, like, say you want to make it to tier 1, like that is your goal, then you got to make sure you're getting, like, they're wanting 4.6k average across multiple seasons, so you got to make sure you're reaching that goal of, I'm 4.6k top 500 average for like 3 to 4 seasons in a row, and looking for the opportunities, making sure you're known. Streaming helps a lot so that they can see your play, understand how you are as a person. It really depends on where you're wanting to go with it, but just making sure you're making yourself known if you're trying to be super serious about it. If it's just starting out, just looking on Reddit's Discords for teams that are looking for players.
Yeah, and as we talked about, you need to have a goal that's aligned with the team. So you need to find a team who want to take part in competitions. You need to get the competitive experience in tournaments, in cups, sometimes on offline events if they happen, because that all adds to your experience. And as Baggins said, they are looking for experience, and somehow you need to prove that you are a good player.
It's just like building a resume,
kind
volunteer
of.
work, all this other stuff, just showing that you're actively trying to do things.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Maybe some concerns.
Were you gonna say something,
Comments?
Slapjack?
Oh yeah, I had a question about someone. You guys said like talked about Jane. Who's Jane?
Oh,
Who's
Jane's
Jane?
basically a big man. He's the Dallas Fuel. I think he's the assistant coach.
No,
He's
He
the head
was.
He was.
He
But-
was the assistant coach.
He's a very good like analyst and coach person. He has a lot of streams and whatnot. But yeah, he made it to tier 1 and assisted Arrow last season with some stuff. But then he is now just a I think he's either an analyst or he's
He's
just
a content creator for Envy.
yeah, he's a content creator now for Envy who owns the Dallas Fuel.
Oh, all right.
He's basically, he was someone who liked coaching. He was an air flight instructor for his normal job. He's always liked instructing people, helping them get better at stuff. And so he saw Overwatch and started to side coaching there. And then eventually his stream basically blew up. And so he was like, his videos were being posted everywhere. He did YouTube content. And then eventually Dallas Fuel picked him up as a coach. And then he decided he wanted to just stick with content, still with the coaching aspect, where he'd coach, Plats, Golds, GMs, or whatever, the ranked experience.
If
Uh,
you're familiar with any of his YouTube content at all, you'll know him by his Guess My SR series.
yeah.
I think I've seen him before. I don't know.
I just linked you his channel.
Oh, well, there you go.
Boom.
Anything else? Questions, comments,
Concerns?
concerns? Yeah.
Will there be a summary for this like conversation?
Yeah.
All right.
If we don't have any more questions, I'm just going to go ahead now. Okay. So, and feel free to, if I miss something, then feel free to pitch in. We talked about our experiences in the amateur competitive Overwatch and homebrew teams, as well as university teams. We discussed that the competitive scene for such teams are really lively. You can join a team if you have the skills. The general recommendation is that you are around plat because there are more active teams on plat level and above. If you want to take part in competitions, that's also usually there's a skill requirement, but it depends on the competition itself. But don't be afraid if you find a gold team, for example, and you want to take part in it, or even on lower level. The activity will be lower, but you might still be able to benefit a lot from it. The competitive experience in a team environment is a lot different than what you can get from a solo queue. We also discussed that it takes some kind of commitment from your side when you want to join a team, and you have to decide why you are joining. Do you want to have fun? Do you want to improve more? Do you want to play for a team aspect? Do you want to take part in competitions and just generally experience the game on a different level? And you have to be sure that the team's goal align with yours, because otherwise it's going to be hard to keep up with what they do, or it's going to be hard for them to keep up with your enthusiasm, for example. It's about time commitment, it's about what you do, it's about what skills do you bring to the team, and then it's really, as we discussed, like a regular sports team where you have to either represent a higher organization like your own university, if you are talking about that, or you are just together and have the same goal and working for them as a team of individuals and sometimes as friends. And we talk about how it looks like for a team, that there are self-organized teams and somewhat more structured teams. With the amount of management that goes into self-organized means that the players play when they feel like. They have maybe they just play together for fun, maybe they are playing for tournaments, and when it's more organized, then it's kind of required from you that you take part in the scrims, you take part in the team activities to be able to improve together with the team, to have the same kind of commitment as they have. And we also talked about how a scrim looks like. It's basically a practice between teams. You have some kind of goal, and then you go in and try to find a team that you can play against, which is on the same level or higher compared to yours, and then you try your strategy. You try to work on some kind of aspect that you figured that you need to work on as a team. And then we touched the staffing around these kinds of themes, like who is a head coach, who is an assistant coach, who is a VOD reviewer, a VOD recorder, so anything that goes around, the general manager who helps to run these kinds of small organizations. Did I miss something?
No, I think just to encompass it all, you get out of it what you put into it. Don't
Nice.
go in expecting people to do stuff for you. If you want something out of it, make sure you're getting that out of it.
Alien.
Yeah.
I think I may have figured something you might have missed. For newer people who want to look for teams, they don't know how to make like looking for player posts or looking for team posts.
Okay.
So would we be able to cover that really quickly?
Do we have a video already on
Sure,
that?
I think we do have
Yeah,
a video maybe
I
a
know
year
I
ago.
edited something like that. Yeah, I know I
We-
made something. I remember.
We have covered the topic, but on like the subject of formally writing one out, I don't think people know what they look like or what people are expecting them to put on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Or
So
what like a practical application of it would look like?
yeah, that's really good. Okay, so if you feel like after watching this and or just being here and talking to us that you want to join a team, then the procedure is that you write looking for application, or you read these kinds of applications by teams, and these are posted on the dojo server as well. But as we are not that active, you should really go for the big ones like Overwatch Universities or Elo Hell. Who are more active, there are going to be a lot of posts there. And as a player, as we mentioned, you should try to look for your goals, to find your goals and time commitment and skill range. And if you want to post yourself, then make sure to include your rank, include your availability, like the time zone and how many hours a day and on which days can you play, your hero pool, what kind of heroes can you play, and also any kind of special skills that you have. Like, for example, if you are comfortable with shot calling, that's good to include, or anything else that you are good with VOD reviews or such. Anything that you would add, anyone?
No, just kind of think of it as a resume. You don't want to, in this situation, it's not exactly like a resume where you don't want to build yourself up too much, because they need to know exactly what you can do for this. Because if you hype yourself up too much and you're like, oh, I could totally be a diamond, I just don't have enough time. It's like, well, can you? Be realistic about that. But, like, it's kind of like a resume where you just want to put down all your skills that will benefit the team.
Yeah. And when you are anyone to add to that part?
I think I found my old resume. If you want to use that as an example,
Sure.
I can post that really quick if it would let me take it. Maybe. Hold on, it's being silly.
So after the resume part is done and you get in contact with someone, you either DM a team or they DM you. You start discussing if you like each other's style, and then probably you are going to get invited to a trial.
Yes.
And the trial is, they usually tell you what they are looking for, like you are going into the slot of the main support, you are to bring a set of skills to the table. You should really be confident, you should really show your true skills if that's something that you can do under this kind of pressure. And try to just really be yourself, because if you are accepted, you are going to be part of a team and they want to know the true you to be able to decide if you are a good fit. And then if the trial fails, then you can try to go ahead and find a different team and do this again. If the trial succeeds, it usually means that you are going to be accepted to the team, and then you can start take part in the team activities. And it's really like a group of any kind, usually on Discord, having a different server that they are going on to at a set time, or they ask each other if they are available on each day, and they do some kind of activity like play against other teams, do improvement related abilities, or just hang out together and play scrims or comp. And then these looking for team post is on the screen right now if you want to take a look at it. So including the current SR and the peak as well, what kind of position you are looking for, any kind of previous experience. That's a really good one. I think I missed that. The schedule, the hero pool, and any kind of info about your extra skills and personal soft skills as well. So non-toxic and friendly team player, something like that. And yeah, basically that's the process. We also talked about not to be shy about your decision. Like if you figured out that something is not working for you, then feel free to switch. Like don't get stuck in a bad team if you figure out that the goals are not aligning at all, something like that. Anything?
If you're not happy with where you are, don't feel ashamed of moving teams.
Yeah.
Because if it's not working out and you're not making yourself happy and you're not happy to be playing with that team, it's only going to be an uphill battle every time you go into a scrim.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be an enjoyable experience for everyone. You're just going to make yourself more stressed and more angry. I used to feel like that because I've been across 5 teams. So I'm like, oh, I feel so stupid. I feel like a team hopper. I'm just kind of like, I've been here, I've done that. Like, no, it gives you good experience. And if you're not happy where you are, you do not have to stay there. You're absolutely not obligated to stay there at all.
It's not like a paying job where, like, if you leave and you're out of a job, it's basically like being a volunteer. You know, if you volunteer somewhere and you didn't like the environment, don't volunteer there again. You don't have to be there. It's volunteer work.
Ultimately, this is a game. You're doing it for fun, and if you're not having a good time, then you're obviously there for the wrong reasons.
Also, a point we didn't cover for like, say you don't have a whole lot of time commitment, but you want to experience it. Ringers are an option if you just want to get your foot wet, you know, kind of test it out. If you like, you could even find your team that way by being a ringer. Like, if you ring for them, you mesh with the team really well, they're your SR range and they have an opening, you know, you could possibly join a team that way. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows you don't have to like join a team right away. You can, you know, go the ringer route and you know, make yourself known that way.
Also, if you don't want to join a team but still want to kind of take part in a comp experience, then there are pickup games. I'm not exactly sure right now where they can be found, but usually on the bigger servers you can hop into a scrim. So
Streamers host pug games every once in a while. I know Javion hosts them like frequently. I think it's every Friday night or something like that.
We also used to have that in the dojo, but it wasn't active enough to be sustainable, unfortunately. So look for really active servers.
We used to have great ideas on them.
Ideas that we had. Activity, not that much. I was really happy to see you guys there. Thank you a lot for joining me on this round table, and let's have a last round of questions if you have anything, and then I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah.
If any questions are still there. Nope. Okay,
No?
then that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm shutting the stream down, and we can hang out for more discussions if you want to.
Now you can have the diving
Bye-bye.
and other.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Alien.
Yeah, no problem.
Not a problem.
Bye.